Hello everyone. Welcome to the movie recap. In 2025, as the world becomes biotechnologically advanced, a company named the Union starts to sell technologically made human body parts named artifact. The rule is simple. If someone cannot pay the price for their artifact, they extract the artifact back from their bodies. Most importantly, by killing the people usually. Such is the case of Mr. Smythe as well. The movie begins with Remy, a repo man who shoots Mr. Smythe as he cannot pay for his artifact. After removing the artifact, he cleans it, packs it, and drives off. After dropping his son to school, Remy checks the lists of people he needs to collect money from and goes to kill them. After getting done with his task, he goes to the Union, where his colleagues are busy convincing people to get the artifacts instead of getting transplants that can cause someone else's death. Moreover, they inform the patients that if they cannot pay the $620,000, then they can pay in installments with 19.6% APR per month. Afterward, Frank Mercer, the manager of the company, introduces himself to the customers. He tells them that they will retrieve the artifact after the 6th day of the 4th month of the non-payment. After that, both Frank and Remy get to work, and Frank detects the artifact brought by Remy. Jake, another repo man, joins them. Jake has been Remy's best friend, more like a partner from grade 5. After they got into a fight, they were also recruited together as they were told they'd be helping America's medical establishment. After being free from work, Remy meets Carol, his wife, who asks him if he talked to Frank about shifting to the sales department. This shows Carol's disapproval of Remy's work. Remy tells her he'll talk to him tomorrow and leaves with Jake. They patrol around the city and scare away a man who has an artifact inside him. They then go to a bar where Remy looks at Beth, a singer, and it looks like Remy has got something in his heart for her. Later at night, Remy reaches home and gets intimate with Carol, who declines his advances. He has a conversation with his son, Peter, and calls it a night. The next morning, Remy and Carol hold a barbecue party to which Jake is also invited. Soon, Jake gets a call about a man being 6 months overdue. Since he is nearby, Jake offers Remy half of the commission, and Remy allows him to kill the man. Jake does it in the middle of the street, and Carol sees it. She takes Peter and leaves the house, asking Remy to take a decision. That night, as the boys go on their routine patrol, Jake spots a nest of people who are overdue and are trying to escape. The two men enter the nest. A fight ensues. They start by tasing the people and then killing them. After retrieving all the artifacts, they go to meet Frank. The boys give him all the artifacts as well as 2 scanners which the people were using to avoid being caught by the repos. Frank appreciates them and offers to be full-time raid captains, however Remy declines. Remy then drops Jake at his place and goes to perform a last repossession on his favorite singer, T-Bone. Remy informs him that he's a fan, so T-Bone offers him to complete the song he is currently working on before removing his artifact. Upon being done, Remy starts the process of taking out his artifact, which is a heart, but his machine malfunctions, and Remy faints. A few days later, Remy finds himself in a hospital bed surrounded by Jake and Frank, and they inform him that his heart failed, so they replaced it with an artifact. This enrages Remy, and he leaves the hospital room while pulling out his artifact. This action of his causes immense bleeding, and he falls to the ground, realizing he has no other option. After being discharged, he goes back home. Carol hands him his suitcase and asks him to leave since he chose his work over family after taking T-Bone's case. Remy goes over to Jake's and takes some rest. After a few days, as he thinks he is ready to do some work, he goes to his next target. The man fights back, but Remy manages to make him unconscious. He starts to do the job but fails since he's one of them now. It makes him sympathize with the patients. He leaves the job undone and joins his fellows at the bar, where he cannot stop thinking about the poor guy. The next morning, he waits outside his home to meet Peter. There, Carol shows him a notice that says his heart payments are overdue. Remy then confesses to Jake about everything, and Jake advises him to take a break. This leads him to transfer to the sales department, but he can't make any sales since he cannot lie to the customers about the cruel reality of the union. He then bets his money on horse racing, however, fails in that department as well. As Remy gets his final notice from the union about his payment being overdue, G takes him to a nest. He tases people for him, but Remy once again fails to take out the artiforgs from their bodies. Jake leaves in anger, and the man Remy tased earlier wakes up and knocks Remy off. After a while, as Remy gains consciousness, he listens to the voice of Beth and finds her there as well. Remy takes Beth to a motel and takes care of her. With the help of his scanner, he checks that Beth has lots of artiforgs and that her payments are overdue. Beth wakes up and punches Remy in the face for helping her. Remy leaves Beth and enters the union building where he tries to remove himself and Beth from the overdue patients list. He removes only one of the artiforgs of Beth, but Jake finds out. Remy returns his taser to Jake and exits the building. He then goes to meet Peter and returns to Beth from where they escape. Back at the union, Frank gives Remy's case to Jake, but he refuses to accept it along with other men of the company. On the other hand, Remy and Beth manage to survive in a building, and as the days pass by, they start to get closer. One day, Beth informs him about her diabetes and all her transplants. Afterward, they make love and Beth gifts him a typewriter to jot down about his life as a repo man. A few days later, as the couple is going on with their normal day routine, Beth hears the sound of someone coming inside the building. They make a plan and enter a room that has a big hole inside covered with a piece of cloth. As Raymond, a man from the union, enters the room and advances toward Remy, he falls down the hole. Beth and Remy gather near the hole, and Beth falls down as well and breaks her prosthetic leg. Upon seeing her there, Raymond decides to tase her, but Remy kills him with his typewriter and runs away with Beth in Raymond's car. On their way to the union, Beth fixes her own leg. As they reach the parking lot, the union, Remy steals a costume that looks like a gun and sneaks inside Frank's office. He punches Frank and throws the part of Raymond's skin that has his union tattoo on it. He asks Frank to remove his and Beth's name from the overdue list, but Frank tells him that he cannot since the system has been changed. Frank adds that the names can only be edited if artiforgs are taken to the union's central office. Remy knocks Frank out and runs away with scanning jammers. He takes Beth to the airport, saying they are running away. On the other hand, Frank gains consciousness and asks Jake to kill Remy. At the airport, as a passenger notices Beth's bleeding leg, the duo is taken to a room. Two men from the union enter the room as well. A fight ensues, and the duo manages to escape again. They go to an old building and meet a guy named Asbury. He gives them a red powder, but advises them to go to a woman named Alva since Beth's leg can deteriorate. Upon their visit to Alva, Remy becomes skeptical because of Alva's young age, but she successfully helps Beth to walk properly. The couple goes back to Asbury only to find out that Jake has repoed him. Jake asks Remy to accompany him, but Remy declines his offer. There, Jake confesses that whatever happened with T-Bone was his plan so that Remy would get sick and become indebted, which would ultimately lead him to continue his job as a repo man. The two get into a fight, and Remy is knocked out by Jake. He wakes up after a while at the sound of Beth shouting at him. She informs him that she has tased Jake, but a group of repo men are raiding their building. The couple manages to escape but reaches a dead end where a woman named Rhodesia saves them and takes them underground. At night, as everyone goes to sleep, Remy wakes up because of a nightmare and sees all the people who have been killed by the union the night before when it raided their nest. The following morning, he talks to Beth and tells her his plans to break into the union's central franchise. They enter a subway station where they end up meeting Carol and Peter. Carol and Remy end up arguing, however, using Remy's taser. Peter knocks Carol out. Remy gives his biography named The Repossession Mambo to Peter and leaves, saying to meet at Punta del Este later in life. Afterward, Beth and Remy manage to reach the union's central franchise. After a lot of hardships, they manage to enter the database and lock themselves inside while leaving Jake and Frank outside. They find out that the only way to enter the base is by scanning their organs. They cut themselves and first scan Remy's heart, then move on to Beth's organs. Remy reaches the last organ, however, Jake and Frank break in. Jake is ordered to kill Remy by Frank, but he instead kills Frank and helps Beth in bringing her back to life. Afterward, Jake tosses 2 grenades into the Artiford drawer of the server, with the explosion destroying the mainframe, wiping the records of everyone who has an account with the Union. Afterward, Remy, Beth, and Jake are spotted enjoying their freedom on a beach. The repossession memo has also been published. As Jake and Beth converse, Remy notices that Jake abruptly vanishes, leaving Remy's book on his chair. After that, Remy witnesses the beach flicker with static before things get back to normal. It turns out that Remy suffered severe brain damage when Jake knocked him out in the nest, leaving him in a coma. Remy can now live a peaceful life in a dream world created by computers because Jake has paid off his debt for his heart and connected his brain to a neural network. Jake also acknowledges that Beth is severely damaged and decides to take care of her. The movie ends with Frank making a sales pitch for the neural network.